All right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Last Call Podcast, Week 11 edition. My name's Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, partner in crime, Dave Eddy. Deuces, what's up, man?
Oh, man, another interesting day of football, man. Always is, though, isn't it? I guess, right?
Yeah. Not gonna lie, man. I had trouble getting motivated for today. You heard me. You saw me. Going back
you were
and
in
forth
full
early.
on bitch mode.
I was
full on
man,
bitch
I
mode
was
this morning.
I just wasn't in the mood today, man. For whatever reason, man. I just literally was just not in the mood today. It was bad. I don't know what was going on with me. And of course, I just lost the tweet that I set up to post all this stuff, so that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, this morning just wasn't clicking with me. So anyway, man, enough of the BS. Let's get to it, man. Want to run through it?
Yeah, for sure, man. So first game, probable playoff matchup here. Titans beat the Ravens 30-24. Big game from Derrick Henry. A lot of it came in the second half. He ended up going for 133 yards and a touchdown. For the Ravens, Lamar had an all-right-ish game, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know.
It's pretty simple news at this point.
Yeah, 186 yards through the air, touchdown and a pick, 51 yards on the ground. But it was nice on their side to see. It looks like Dobbins is maybe slowly starting to take over that backfield a little bit, which makes sense to me because if you just watch the game a little bit, I think that he is by far the best running back, at least with the eye test out of that backfield. But they've got three solid running backs that they can play, so I don't blame them for real life purposes. But man, if Dobbins got all those carries, I think things would be looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. I still think it's a tough backfield to trust week in and week out. Unfortunately, I agree with you. I think Dobbins is the guy that they should be using more. He just looks faster, crisper out of the backfield. He's catching passes, but for whatever reason, they just want to mix in Ingram and Edwards a whole bunch. Now today it didn't happen, and maybe we see that going forward. I know they always said they wanted to get Dobbins more involved later in the season, and maybe now it's finally later in the season. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be one of those kind of things where this backfield has been just kind of a mess all year, unfortunately. So good luck figuring it out.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Next up, we had the Panthers 20, the Lions a big ol' goose egg. They were without Galladay and Swift, so that definitely plays a role there, I think. So I think we can kind of just bypass pretty much everything that happened over there. But for the Panthers, they were without Teddy Bridgewater, and the roughneck should have been MVP of the XFL. PJ Walker stepped in. He went for about 250 through the air. One touchdown. He had two picks in the end zone, so this game actually could have been significantly worse than what it was. Mike Davis had a better than what he had been seeing game, but again, he was going against the Lions. 64 yards on the ground, got one in the end zone there, and then DJ Moore caught 7 balls for 127 yards. Mm-hmm. I think, since the Lions side of the ball is kind of irrelevant at this point, if Bridgewater has to miss more time. It didn't seem like he's going to, since he was literally like a game time decision. I think PJ Walker showed himself to be, pretty decent, and they've got a lot of good weapons there. So, as long as you put in an NFL caliber quarterback, I think they're going to be playable. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Bridgewater will be back, but PJ Walker definitely, played well enough.
Dude, if anything, man, he made the rest of that team a little more relevant. I mean, like, look at DJ Moore's line. Like, he didn't score, but I mean, he had a phenomenal line. He was. I downgraded a lot of the Panthers this week, and to my own dismay, obviously, like I shouldn't have. So it's gonna hurt my rankings, on Fantasy Pros. But who knew what PJ Walker was gonna do in the NFL? He'd never taken a snap. But he proved that he's just an electric player, and that's what he did in the XFL. So if he does get another start, I'm gonna put those guys right back where they belong.
Yeah, he was all right, man. Next up, we had some crappy weather. Browns 22, Eagles 17. Carson Wentz did not look good at all. I mean, he's got all of his, well, not all of his weapons, but pretty much, the majority of his weapons back. And I really thought that this would be a game maybe where he looked pretty good, and he just did not make that Browns defense without Myles Garrett look real well. And
man, he threw a couple passes that were awful.
Yeah. Brown side of the ball looks like, Chubb is going to get a lot of the yardage, but for whatever reason, Hunt is the one getting the goal line carry. So, Chubb went over 100 yards, but Hunt got the touchdown.
And he almost had 2. Like, he got all the goal line work, which was bizarre. I mean, Chubb's the bigger guy, right? I mean, when you think of, the bruiser in that backfield, I think everybody would consider Chubb to be the guy who's just going to bowl over people, and Hunt would be the guy who's going to make people miss type of thing. And now Chubb can do some of that too. But yeah, I mean, Hunt got all the goal line work out in the end zone. Didn't really do much else. I mean, 13 for 11, but that's something to keep an eye on. I mean, obviously you're starting Chubb every week, but his value is going to take a bit of a dip if he's not getting the red zone, inside the 10-yard line work type of thing. As far as Wentz, man, like, I'm done defending this guy. That was terrible. I don't care if it's weather or not. I mean, he threw a couple passes, man. That one that got returned for a touchdown. As soon as he threw it, I went, whoa, no. As soon as he threw it, I went, no. It's gone. Gone. It was just airmailed, man. He was just like, just threw it up. Like, yeah, I had no idea what he was doing. Goddard played well, so that's at least a bit of a good news there. We need tight ends, so please, somebody step up.
Yeah, that tight end position is pretty terrible, man. Next up, we had the Texans 27, Patriots 20. Cam Newton threw for a lot of yards. He went for 365 playing catch up, and got 1 touchdown. Damian Harris started off the game. First quarter, he did real well. Didn't really see the ball after that, as they were playing catch up. But all that catch up got Demir Bird 6 catches for $132 and a touchdown. So
yes.
Decent numbers if you had the balls to play Demarius Bird, and Watson looked real good. 344 yards, 2 touchdowns. Got one in on the ground. Duke Johnson didn't do much of anything. Brandon Cooks had 85 yards through the air. So, that team did look pretty good, but it was a lot of big numbers from the Patriots, just in not necessarily garbage time, but, just playing catch up.
Yeah, I think the one thing I take out of this is the fact that Sony Michel got activated off the IR, but was a healthy scratch. It'll be interesting to see if he gets activated again, because Damian Harris looked good early until they got so far behind they just stopped running the ball. He was at one point he was 5 for 25 and a touchdown, finished with 11 for 43 and a touch. But he's by far their best runner, and I think it shows. But it's Bill Belichick, so we'll see what happens. But I think he still is somebody you can throw in there as a kind of a back end RB2, maybe flex guy most weeks going forward.
Yeah, because I think that their game plan is, in a perfect world, they want to run the ball and play defense. So this one got a little bit away from them early. But yeah, I would say that if you had to trust anyone out of the backfield, it would be. It would be Harris.
Although,
going forward until we find out otherwise.
Burkhead went out. I forget what the injury was, but it's pretty substantial. James White got in the mix, man. He caught 6 for 40-something yards, so maybe more. I didn't look at I didn't write down his stat line, but so James White might be, reborn.
We'll see. I think for them, it's as simple as it's going to be Damian Harris when they want to run the ball, and it's going to be James White when they want to pass the ball.
Well, that's basically what they were doing,
fairly
right?
Cut and dry. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. So a game that went as we expected here. Steelers 27, Jaguars 3. Big Ben, was all right. 267, 2 touchdowns and a pick. James Conner got got in and did a little bit more than we had seen recently. At least he had 89 yards on the ground. But man, Deontay Johnson, when that dude is healthy and plays a full game, he is a elite receiver. He went for 12 catches and 111 yards today. Pretty much not much to say on the Jag side other than James Robinson seems as though he is the real deal. This is the toughest matchup he's going to see all year, and he didn't light it up. But considering they got 3 points and we're playing from behind all day, I'd say his 73 yards on the ground, and 2 catches, through the air is good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling somebody else earlier today, like they gave me a start sit question, and he was like pick 2 or 3 thing, and I was like, I know Robinson's got the tough matchup, but man, like it doesn't seem to matter. Like they're just feeding this guy the ball. They're trying to play ball control, and even if they're losing, it's just bizarre. It's like the complete opposite of what most teams do. So he feels super safe. Like every week, he's got a really safe floor, and when they are in the game and they can actually score points, he's going to be their guy. So I like Robinson a lot going forward. So
yeah, next up we had Saints 24, Atlanta 9. Very surprisingly terrible game from Atlanta. Not really much of anything going on over there. But for the Saints, I mean, we were worried, and this is one thing that you and I had discussed at nauseum this morning, was Taysom Hill and how much we could or could not trust him, for a variety of reasons, both, how he would produce and how many snaps he would get. And I would say he pretty much gave you maybe one of the better possible outcomes. 233 yards through the air, no touchdowns, no picks, 51 yards on the ground, got in the end zone there. And then, I think this surprised a lot of people that Michael Thomas had a decent game. He had 9 catches for a $104.
He caught half his completions. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I mean,
half of Hill's completions.
Was surprising. So
obviously he's going to pepper Thomas. It seems like so. For people who were worried about Thomas, and rightfully so. I mean, he's been bad the last couple of weeks anyway, even with Breeze. Now with Hill, you were like, what do I do? I mean, like I sank him in my rankings this week. I had no idea what to expect. Kind of same thing with Walker, right? I mean, I just was maybe too risk adverse. I don't know, but Hill was great. I was actually surprised they didn't actually have more designed runs for him early, but I think they were just trying to get the Falcons off their game a little bit. The one worry you take from this is the lack of the Kamara usage. Like one target, only ran the ball 13 times. Now, only running the ball 13 times is kind of normal for him, but only one target really does concern you.
Yeah. Because if anything, I would have expected him to get,
a lot.
The same amount of usage, because I didn't expect, Thomas to get as much as he did. I thought that would be reversed, and I think most people did.
Yeah, like, and you and I were talking earlier on it today that we were trying to build DFS lineups. It was like, if you use Hill, can you use Kamara or do you use Thomas? And we both were like, hey, you can't use Thomas. I think everybody was off of that train for the most part. But it was like, well, maybe Kamara, right? Maybe. But even then, it was kind of like he didn't feel good about it, so he just didn't do it. So that's a very interesting thing to take away here. On the Falcons side, dude, if Julio is out, man, you literally can't trust anybody in this offense. Like, we saw how bad they were early on in the year without Julio, and they were terrible without him on the field today. And even when he was trying to gut it out with that hamstring, not good. They're just a shell of themselves without Julio out there. It's kind of incredible how much of an impact he makes on that team. So
I mean, I don't know that Ridley was fully healthy today. So if Julio is out, I don't think that I would drop Ridley any. I don't know that I would necessarily give him, any sort of a bump from that production, but I think Ridley is still okay if healthy.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm fine using Ridley, but he's not. He seems to do a lot better when Julio's in the lineup as well, only because Matt Ryan does way better.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So anyway,
Last game of the early slate, we had your Washington football team taking down the Bengals 20-9. Definitely the biggest news here is just quite simply bad news. Joe Burrow tore his ACL
down for the count.
on a sack. Got his
brutal,
leg bent back, and he is definitely done for the season. So I think that if you have Boyd or Higgins, I think that's gonna put a pretty big dent into them because Burrow was
slinging it.
He was having like one of the better rookie seasons as far as like statistically concerned. That we had seen.
That's all we cared about. Like he was just slinging the ball down the field and lots of times. I mean, even in this one, he got hurt in I think it was early-ish third quarter. He threw the ball 34 times. Like it's just a ridiculous amount of pass attempts from Burrow. Now, so I saw some people on Twitter saying like, what did they expect to happen to Burrow when they, had him drop back this many times with that atrocious offensive line? And like, hey, I don't totally discredit that opinion. Like, they're kind of right. You want to protect your young guy a little bit, right? But it definitely hurts Boyd and Higgins. And I unfortunately have a couple leagues where I've got both of those guys because I got Higgins off the waiver wire and was just, I was using both of them because they're both awesome almost every week.
They were definitely getting volume. I mean, Burrow had become one of my favorite DFS plays just because he was never expensive.
Absolutely.
And he had great targets to throw the ball to. And whether it was Mixon or Bernard that was in there, the running back could catch the ball. So he was someone that I would fall back on with a few lineups every week because the volume you knew for a fact was there.
Absolutely.
And all of that is just pissed right out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, was it Ryan Finley?
He's terrible.
It's going to be playing
granted, I know the Washington front's pretty good, but they've been exposed against at least half decent teams, right? They've basically destroyed their division defensively, outside of the Giants for some reason. Finley, 3 for 10, an interception and 4 sacks. I mean, he looked lost. I don't know what they're gonna do with that offense with him back there.
It's gonna be rough. That's a huge.
They're
loss.
gonna be the team you're gonna want to pick on their defense. That's gonna be the defense you go after almost every week going forward. I feel like.
I agree. For sure.
So let's move on here. Let's get to these late afternoon games. Cowboys Vikings. Man, shocker here, man. Honestly, Cowboys 31, Vikings 28. And this was a shootout, man. Both teams' offense firing on all cylinders. Dalton came back for this one, 203 with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Zeke returns finally, 21 for 103. Didn't get in the end. Oh, no, he did. He caught one for a touchdown.
Yeah, he caught one.
But, only 2 targets. Actually, Pollard got the rushing touchdown, like a big 40-yard rush. I might have thrown something when he did that because I'm a Zeke owner. Just kidding. Cooper, 6 for 81, 7 targets. Lamb, 4 for 34 and a touch, 6 targets. On the Vikings side, Cousins was a lot better than I thought he was going to be. I thought they were I thought this was going to be a Cook game, and that's pretty much it. But Cousins, 22 for 30, 314 and 3 touchdowns. Thielen balled out, 8 for 123 and 2 touchdowns. Jefferson caught 86 yards and a touch. Cook still got his, though. 115 and a touchdown, and they caught 5 too. So you're definitely happy. This game offensively wise, didn't seem like no matter who you had, you were happy. I think we sort of expected everything from the Vikings side, right? Because the Cowboys' defense is pretty much ass. But the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys have been just awful, even with Dalton healthy. What do we think about them going forward now that they had this kind of a game with Dalton and some of that offensive line back? Are we feeling more confident?
Well, a couple of things, I guess. First and foremost, the Vikings defense isn't anything to write home about. They're better than the Cowboys, but, they're not, even league average. But with that said, though, this is kind of what I thought we would see when Dak went down and, Dalton was going to replace him.
Right.
A little bit of a drop off, but nothing drastic. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a good sign. And I think that it's going to be, very much, they're going to play as good as the defense that they're against. So I think that you can have a little bit. Well, you can have a lot more trust in some of these skill players with Dalton than you had with Garrett Gilbert or DiNucci or anybody else. So it's definitely a step in the right direction for them.
Absolutely. Packers and Colts, another overtime game here. Packers 31, Colts 34. Upset time. Rodgers 27-38, 311, 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones 41 in the touch. Adams did Adams stuff, man. 106, 7 catches, a touchdown. Rivers played pretty well, 288, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Pittman, I'm going to skip over the running back because I think that's where we're going here. Pittman, 66 in a touch, had a big play for a touchdown there. Otherwise, the receivers kind of ho-hum for the Colts as usual. Big news, though, man. Jonathan Taylor. After everybody came out this week, coaches came out and said, Naeem Hines is going to get a bulk of the work, right? Jonathan Taylor, 22 rushes, 90 yards, caught 4 for 24. So, yeah. What are we doing here? I mean, what do we believe anymore out of this offense? It's kind of same thing with Dobbins, right? Like, are we trusting this at all anymore?
I mean, I'm not.
No.
The Packers have one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So whoever they were going to give the ball to was, bound to have a pretty decent day. I guess they flipped a coin and it landed on Taylor's. So yeah, right. But yeah, I thought that Hines was definitely going to be the play. Because he's good out of
my DFS lineup. You saw that.
Yeah, no, I slipped him in a couple spots, but
5,600. It wasn't bad. Like, you thought he's been killing it. It's funny because my wife has him on the fantasy team, like in our family league, and she's been on my case the last couple of weeks because she's like, "Oh, Hines doing awesome on my bench," and I was like, "Yeah, the minute you start him," and thankfully she didn't start him this week, but. I was like, you can't trust it. It's just not there. Like, it doesn't feel like it's reliable at all. And look, I know Jonathan Taylor owners are going to be excited, and they're going to want to put him in their lineups next week. Be careful. I don't know, man. I don't know what Reich does. I don't know. I can't figure out why they don't use him more. But they just game plan around it. He's got the Bill Belichick mold, where it's just. Is whoever is going to be the better fit against the defense, I guess. And this week it was Taylor. And we've seen it. The Packers have just been like mauled up the middle, just run hard at them, and they just get gashed. So maybe that's what the thought was this week. So
yeah, and I mean, there's so many teams though that are like that. I mean, I would the vast majority of teams have that kind of backfield these days. You've got 2 or 3 guys that can do the job. It's just a matter of who gets the volume.
Absolutely. Next to last game, Jets and Chargers. Chargers got out big, and the Jets kind of closed the gap, man. I thought the Chargers were going to try to blow it again. Chargers won, though, 34-20. They really did try. 34-28. Flacco, who cares? Gore, who cares? Mims, 3 for 71. If you played him at DFS, congrats, Dave. Made value, I guess, a little overvalue. Yeah. Chargers, though, man, this is where it was at for DFS this week, and anybody who had anybody on the Chargers that felt like just kind of hit home runs here. Herbert, dude, the hair didn't matter, guys. 37 for 49, 366, and 3 touchdowns. Just slinging it, man. This guy's awesome. Definitely proving me wrong. Keenan Allen just went ham. 16 for 145 and a touch. Mike Williams did well. Ballage did okay. They passed it a ton. I mean, at this point, though, I think I've asked you this a couple of times, and I'm going to ask it again. Like, Herbert's got to be one of your first go-to quarterbacks in DFS, right?
I mean, for DFS, for sure. Just, because the team itself isn't, fantastic. So it's almost like a Burrow type situation where, he's got a lot of good weapons. He's going to throw the ball a lot because they're typically going to be behind. Right. This kid has just been fantastic. Every time you ask that question, it's like, I'm more and more impressed, and he just continues to rise up that ladder. I mean, when you can throw the ball to Keenan Allen and to Mike Williams.
I mean, he's making Keenan Allen almost better than Phillip Rivers did. Like, how crazy is that?
Keenan Allen has been as consistent as it gets this year, but that's because Herbert has been as consistent as it gets this year. I mean, Mike Williams is always, a roller coaster. You never,
he's up and down. He's big play. He
could have 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, or 1 catch for 4 yards. But Keenan Allen has always been consistent. He got 19 targets this week.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they're playing the Jets, and this is what teams do to the Jets. So, but. Yeah, this is what Herbert's also been doing all year. So it lined up exactly how you wanted it to, and thought that it would.
Yeah. All right, final game here of the afternoon slate: Dolphins, Broncos. Broncos win 20-13. Kind of an upset as well too, man. The Dolphins were on a roll. Yeah. Tua played horrible, man. 11 for 20, 83. Got a touch, but through I think 4 picks. It was at least 3. They benched him, put in Fitzpatrick late, almost made the comeback. Fitzmagic not quite, threw a pick in the end zone there. Ahmed did okay, 43 yards rushing, caught 5 for 31. He's definitely looking pretty good there. Parker caught 6 for 61 in the touch, so you're happy there if you're a Parker owner. Locke, man, like I still don't really ever know what to think with Locke, man. It just never looks great, but, he made it work this week. 18 for 30, 270, a pick. But this was the running game, man. Melvin Gordon, 84 and 2 touchdowns. Lindsey, 82 yards on the ground. 0 targets for both, though. Like, they didn't get nothing in the passing game. A little weird. Tim Patrick, though, it was the leader in the passing game here, 5 for 119. Like, I like this guy, and I never really understood why he got buried on the depth chart. Injuries really opened up the opportunity for him this year, and I'm glad it did, because I think he needed the more playing time. It seemed like in years past, whenever he got a chance, he performed, but they just they drafted all these guys and they wanted to use them. Yeah. So whatever. But I mean, like, what do we do with this Broncos offense? Like, they're super talented, but they're super inconsistent as well. Like, is it all on Drew Lock, or is it these receivers are super young? Like, what is it? Like, I don't know what to do with these guys. I never want to target them anywhere, it feels like.
This, for me, is the toughest one, because, like you said, they've got all the talent in the world, and it's not even like it's necessarily matchup dependent, because this would have been the week where they would have been just, completely a bust. And I mean, it's not like Locke was spectacular or anything like that, but, Patrick and Judy, were great. I mean, they had 2 running backs that had a great day. They're very volatile. Average.
I mean,
what's that?
And Hamler was okay. I mean,
yeah, I mean, Hamler's another time. I mean, we didn't even talk about Noah Fant. They got a lot going on.
Tons of weapons. It's just they just can't seem to put it together. And like, honestly, they won this game off their defense. Like, the offense didn't really do it. Like, yeah, the rushing game came to play, but that's because it could. Like, the defense really sealed the deal for this with all the interceptions they got. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those. It's hard to pinpoint when any of these guys are really going to go off in any given week. I will say this: Tua owners, if you want to keep using him, he's going to be in the lineup next week. They've already announced he's the starter. He just got benched for poor play, and he should have today. He was terrible. So he will be back in the lineup. So, which kind of sucks for anybody who wants Gesicki to thrive, because Tua does not look at him at all. I noticed as soon as Fitz came in, Gesicki caught like 2 passes right away, and I was like, yeah, because I'm unfortunately one of those guys. So, oh well. All right, man. We are at the roughly 5-minute mark of the Raiders-Chiefs game. 21-17 Chiefs, and yeah, this started out as a hot offensive game, man. The first 4 drives, all touchdowns, and then it's been kind of not a ton since. So slowing down, but I think we'll see a flurry here at the end is my guess. So that's all I've got. Got anything else to add?
No, man, just looking forward to week 12, getting back at it.
Yep, and we won't talk to you guys until after the Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, and we appreciate you all, man. We are thankful for everybody listening and watching. So talk to you all later.
Absolutely.
Peace.